I'm still at 8:59.
All right, I'll give you some time.
Computer.
Get,
There you go.
I'm still 8:59. Here we go. Ready, Lee? Ready, Frank? Good morning, everyone. It is September 22nd, 2020. We will call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you all who are here with us in attendance and also those that are joining us remotely. The next order of actual business are the minutes from last week. Does anyone have any corrections?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from last week, 9:15.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lyden, seconded by Commissioner Potter. I do have just one little tweak on the advisory committee minutes. It's actually Public Works Labor Management, and I did already reach out to the minute taker, but one little tweak. Is there any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Minutes are approved from 9:15. The agenda, today's agenda, is there any additions or deletions from today's agenda?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda as presented.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Vetch, seconded by Commissioner DeLyden. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are, the agenda is approved. Consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
second that.
All right, motion made by Commissioner DeLyden, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, consent agenda is approved. Moving on to our timed items, right at 9:02. Welcome to our extension group. And we have a resolution declaring October 4th through the 10th as 4-H Week in Wright County. And welcome you to come to the podium if you'd like. We kind of have this little white ball is where other people can see and hear, but I believe they'll be able to.
So am I okay standing right here talking, or do I need to go here?
Nope, you're good right where you're at.
Yep.
Okay. And do we leave these on while we talk?
You can take it off.
Yeah. Yep. You're far away.
All right. Well,
Just
thank
don't
you
spit
for
at
giving
it.
us a little bit more time today than we normally get for this. We didn't do a budget presentation, or I didn't this year, because our budget was flat. So I think that you may know that the university hit very, very hard by COVID-19, had to do some very aggressive things, still has to do some aggressive things to make ends meet. One of those things is furloughs. So we all have been furloughed, we will be furloughed again. But the other thing that impacted counties was that we're in a wage freeze. And what that means is that we will not be giving cost of living increases for this year. The contract that we pre-negotiate statewide with all of our counties determines that increase each year, and it was set at 2% for 2021. So in a normal year, I would have been coming to you and proposing a budget with a 2% cost of living increase for our educators. But because the university's not giving that increase this year, we're passing that savings on to the counties. Wright County did ask for flat budgets this year, so that's what we did. So in essence, our budget is identical to 2020. So the budget for 2021, we didn't really need to come and talk line by line through it because we already did it last year. So instead, we asked Lee if we could come and talk to you a little bit about extension and what we do, because typically I take that time to say a little bit, not about the specific things that the local educators are doing. So as you know, Wright County funds a couple of positions. You guys have 2 youth development educators and 1 agriculture, food, and natural resources educator in your county, and those folks are here today to talk a little bit about the work they're doing specifically. For my role, I have a 7-county region, central in Minnesota, and so I work with a lot of educators that are either statewide or are regional in nature. They are not funded specifically by Wright County. Their funding sources come from a lot of different places. Some of them are funded by university dollars. Many of them are funded by grant dollars. So we're doing a lot of work in the county that is oftentimes invisible, or it's work that people have no idea that the University of Minnesota is doing. So it's that work that I'm here to talk about a little bit today. Now, my main office is out of St. Cloud, though I have offices in all of the counties, and so in a normal year, I like to spend at least a couple of days a month in each one of those county offices, kind of meeting with people. But we do have an office in St. Cloud where we have about 20 educators that are regional or statewide. We also have educators in some of our county offices that do broader work than just that county. We have educators on campus all over the state. There are lots and lots of people doing work for the university. And some of the things you may or may not know that we're doing across this region, and also more broadly, everything from all the aquatic invasive species testing that you see done, that passes through the university, private pesticide applicator training, those kinds of trainings where the state mandates that somebody have some sort of a license or some sort of approval for someone to do a certain thing. Oftentimes the university is tapped to offer those trainings. We work with farmers facing uncertain times, so we have farm economics people who are moving around the state helping farmers if they have to make difficult decisions, or right now specifically doing some education on the programs specific to COVID that are available to farmers to help keep them afloat during this difficult time. We do a lot of work with families, not just with children, but with youth, but we also do programs that help families raising teens and raising kids, so a lot of programs for parents. If there are people going through a divorce, they need training, parenting kinds of training, we offer that training. If you have families who are economically disadvantaged, we have lots of trainings to help them, healthy foods, help them raise their kids better, lots of programs and trainings for those folks. We have trainings for military families who are going through transitions, either mom or dad is leaving or coming back, and there are trainings that those folks have to go through. We offer a lot of those kinds of things. We're doing things with local grocers and local food shelves, a lot of that stuff in Wright County, lots of grant-funded work in that area that's actually pretty cool. Sometimes our county extension committee hears about that, but there are big grants across the state to help convert food shelves to what's called super shelves. And it's basically going in, analyzing what they're doing, what they're offering, making the whole thing look different, giving a whole different grocery shopping experience, buying differently, stocking the shelves differently, having recipes available, produce up front. So it's making it a happy shopping experience that leads to healthier behaviors. And it's there's longitudinal data with that project to kind of see if we're changing behaviors over time, so if we're actually helping those families to feed their children better. We also have a lot of things going on right now specifically, and I think Adam, these guys will talk a little bit about some of the upticks we've seen in some of our programming. While we can't do as much in person, we do a lot remotely, and that reach is very, very broad. So some of the things that we've seen upticks in are people wanting to do happy things at home. Gardening, the gardening programs, a lot of them where we would see, you know, maybe 100 people before, we might see 1,000 now. So it is crazy how much gardening people are doing related to that, canning and jarring. I think you guys probably know that supplies for canning and jarring is like the new toilet paper. You can't get it anywhere. Yeah, and so the training across the state for how to do that safely, that's the universities too. So we have a whole cottage foods program where there's tons of online curriculum that teaches you how to can and jar safely. We also have new curriculum that we've put up about meat processing at home. So a lot of people, especially with the pork industry, where we were euthanizing pork and you could buy cheap, but you couldn't get them processed anywhere. So there was a big demand for people to have some sort of, how can I do this at home? So not the most fun thing to watch for most people, but there is a very long video that will teach you exactly how to process a pig at home. Many, many things going on. I can't really even begin to scratch the surface of all that we're offering. I mean, literally there are hundreds of things every day across the state. It makes me extremely proud to work for this organization where our mission is simply to bring the resources of the university to Minnesota in a way that improves the quality of life for Minnesotans. And we have educators that's their goal. That's what they do. So I encourage you to check out our website. I think our tech people do a really good job of keeping current everything that's going on that page so you can see, and encourage folks in your districts to do the same, to take advantage of these programs that are out there, most of which are free of charge to them. So with that, I'll hand it over to your local educators so they can talk about the work specifically in Wright County.
Thank you, Lori.
All right, so I'm Adam Austin. If you don't know me, I am the ag and hort educator for the county. And the next, I'm going to try to keep it to just 2 or 3 minutes, run through a few things that I've been focusing on more so since March when things have all changed. So first, to start with the Master Gardeners, we still have about 40 awesome volunteers. Traditionally, you'd see them at the county fair, community gardens, and their big Spring Days educational event. That's changed a lot this year, so they're pretty limited in what they can do, so they've taken this chance to really look inward at our program, and that has led to a brand new website that'll be unveiled shortly, and a lot of different changes within our organization. And then also, it seems like we've really done a good job of recruiting new volunteers. So we currently have 7 applications in to join us in 2021, and I expect that to go up quite a bit more yet before the application deadline of October 1st. So they're doing pretty good. And one big thing that I've really seen a change of this summer is in technical assistance, so just answering questions that residents have in the counties. Just so far in September, I have answered already over 40 technical assistance questions, which is literally probably tenfold of what I saw last year. So I've been making a big push to have people reach out to me and ask questions, and also making sure that when needed, I get out to their places to see what's going on. I've probably made about 8 insight visits as well since the middle of August or so. So that's going really well. I'm really happy to see that people are finding me as a resource and taking advantage of that as well. Besides, most of these questions are coming in as tree questions. You know, there's a lot of tree issues, especially with the weather issues that we've been having the past couple of years, which, you know, might not seem like a huge deal, but some of these trees have literally thousands of dollars of impact on the property values of these homes. So it's a very big deal to try to help these people take care of their trees, and also answering other questions like insect issues and cropland rental rates and all the normal stuff that we're normally dealing with. So that's going really well. Of course, we switched to a lot of webinars since we can't do much in person. A lot of them that I've been involved with are the Gardening from the Ground Up series that Lori mentioned. That one was very successful back in March, and we're actually planning on doing the same thing again in the upcoming March. So it's things like that, and then I was also involved with a dairy series and a beef series. Those have been pretty well received by beef and dairy producers, so I'm happy to be a part of that. And then there's a lot of things in AF&R that I'm not directly involved in, like some goat and sheep webinars and Minnesota Plant Spotlight series, which they go through a lot of different landscape plants that work well in Minnesota for homeowners. So that's been all fun to see and be a part of. And then moving on just to our Farm Family of the Year, we haven't been able to come to a board meeting quite yet to recognize them. You know, with the way things worked out, we didn't come this summer, and then they got really busy as a family on their farm. So we're kind of waiting till things die down a little bit for them before we come and recognize them. But that's Nick and Amelia Neaton of, they're between kind of Waverly and Winstead down in the south part of the county, Sweet Beet Farm, along with their 2 young sons, Alvin and Hugo. I haven't even had the chance to meet them in person yet, but I've talked with them a bunch, and they're a really fun family to talk to about their farm. So I'm happy that they're our Farm Family of the Year, and hopefully pretty soon here we can get them here to recognize them. And then lastly, I just wanted to touch on, because this week is actually National Farm Safety and Health Week, so we're doing a lot of things to push, you know, farm safety, especially right as harvest is right around the corner. I have actually heard a couple of minor incidents happening in the area already this year, so it's always something we want to push out to our farmers, as well as to people on the roadways that you know, a lot of slow traffic on the roads this time of year, and doing what we can to make sure everybody's aware of what they need to do to keep everybody safe. And there is a theme for each day this week, and the theme today is just overall farmer well-being. And what that is kind of that 3-legged stool that we like to preach of physical, emotional, and mental well-being, so that, you know, our farmers are physically healthy, but also able to handle the stress that comes with a busy harvest season. So that's all I really have for you today, just some of the bigger items I wanted to touch on quick.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Commissioner Burrell.
I just had a quick question. It's kind of generic, but with the emerald ash
emerald ash borer, is it, or?
Yep.
What, is there a cost-effective treatment, or is it very expensive? How can you protect the trees?
It's very expensive. So what some cities have started doing is kind of a mix of how they're handling emerald ash borer. So it's, a lot of times it's, you know, if you go down a lot of city streets in Buffalo too, it'll just be a line of ash trees. So what they might do is take out every other one or every third one, something like that, and replace it with something that is not dealing with that sort of an issue. And then they'll treat the ones that they don't take out.
So what does it cost to treat a tree? Does it depend on the size? And then is it effective? Does it really work?
It sounds like it's pretty effective. I can't say exactly what the cost is. I know it's high. It's gonna be at least hundreds of dollars. And I don't know what all goes into that treatment, but yeah, it's definitely something that I would encourage even the city like Buffalo or all the cities in Wright County to take a look at, is maybe probably replacing some of those.
But then what do you
treating-
replace them with? You get Dutch elm, emerald ash?
Yeah, so, you know, it seems like our options keep getting more and more limited, so there's definitely a lot of options out there yet, but it's,
Maple, I guess, huh?
yeah, and the good news is though, emerald ash borer has kind of died down with the last couple of years with how cold it's gotten in the middle of winter. That kills off some of the population, so that's why we haven't been seeing it spread quite as much as we were back 3-4 years ago. But it did move into some counties south of the cities. I can't remember exactly which ones the cities, or this year. So it's still moving around, it's still out there, and it's something that's probably worth looking into.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, thank you, Adam. Morning.
Hello, my name is Kim Fox. I'm one of the 2 4-H educators in Wright County along with Kelly Stride. We've had an interesting year with 4-H, but it's been a good one. We've had an increase in our youth, about 8%. We currently have 647 youth and 199 screen volunteers. When the pandemic hit, we had to move our programming virtual, as you know, and that actually led to some really interesting opportunities. We were able to hold our very first virtual residence camp. So we had youth that were able to attend camp that never were in the past for a variety of reasons. So it was really fun to be able to engage those youth virtually and give them the opportunity to experience camp from home. We also have had the opportunity to offer day camps and a variety of other workshops to youth online. And a lot of them are a very hybrid model, so they had the opportunity to do a little bit of learning in the morning via Zoom call, and then they would do the activity with their family, and then join us in the evening later to discuss and kind of reflect on how it went. So they weren't on their computer all day, but they were certainly learning a lot of things along the way. As the year has gone on, we've been able to do a few more things in person. In August, we got together with our club leaders who have been doing a lot of virtual meetings with their club throughout all of this, and they're starting to move back into in-person meetings. We had almost all of our club leaders in attendance, and they really were excited to learn how they can have 4-H club meetings in these new circumstances. And so we really have to give them a lot of credit for taking the leap of faith and really learning our new guidelines and how they can engage youth with new games and new educational experiences to really make 4-H fun with our new experiences. So as we move forward, we're offering our volunteers some fall training virtually, and so they have really those opportunities how to engage youth. If their club continues to meet virtually, they have that opportunity, or if they're going to meet in person, we can also give them the tools to do that. So I think it's really opened a new door for 4-H because we've been able to do a lot of things with youth that we maybe otherwise weren't able to reach in the past. So it's been a really cool learning opportunity for everybody involved. As you know, this week is, or not this week, but the first week of October is the annual celebration of the National 4-H Week nationwide. This is a week and a time to celebrate the many things that are great about being a 4-H member. This week is also a time to showcase our community and recruit new members. Clubs and members will be working hard to get the word out about 4-H to assist and promote efforts. The Wright County 4-H would like to ask the Wright County Board of Commissioners to declare October 4th through the 10th, 2020 as National 4-H Week in Wright County. National 4-H Week in Wright County, October 4th through the 10th, 2020. Whereas 4-H youth across the nation are leading efforts to solve problems in their community and make a difference in their future. And whereas 4-H, Minnesota's largest youth development organization, growing leaders in every part of the state, reaching 69,000 youth last year alone. Whereas 4-H in Wright County numbers are more than 640 members and nearly 200 volunteers. Whereas Minnesota 4-H committed to empowering youth and the skills they need to lead for a lifetime. Whereas youth in 4-H collaborate with caring adults to lead hand-on programs in areas like science, health, agriculture, citizenship, the arts. And whereas the 4-H experience helps youth to make positive choices, communicate effectively, build connections with peers and adults, and meaningful contributions to their local and global communities.
Madam Chair, I'll move forth that resolution.
All right.
Second.
So motion made by Commissioner Burrell, seconded by Commissioner Potter, and the resolution is to proclaim October 4th through the 10th, 2020 as National 4-H Week in Wright County. And we urge the people of this community to take advantage of this opportunity to become more aware of the special program that enhances our young people's interest in their futures of Wright County 4-H youth development, and join us in recognizing the unique partnership between our county and the University of Minnesota. Sorry, my mask is acting goofy. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on this? And I just would say thank you for everything you're doing in all the different programs and recognizing the youth, certainly in 4-H. If there's no more discussion, roll call.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Delay.
Didn't you have a virtual, normally at the county fair you do something? And it seemed to me, I remember in the paper that you did have kind of a virtual contest.
If we were committed to having showcases in every county across the state, so we did some kind of things that they were, for example, in the state fair showcase. Great job. It was not easy making that happen. A lot of people weren't happy that it had to happen that way, so I think, for making it happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure the kids really appreciated being able to showcase their work and stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really cool experience because we had more judge and youth interaction than we usually can in a normal show ring. So that was really cool. There was extra learning, I think. And it was nice that the youth did have an opportunity to showcase the animals they had raised and the projects they had worked on, so.
Yeah,
So congratulations
Yes,
for getting that
for sure.
accomplished.
yeah.
And Madam Chair,
Commissioner Potter.
last thing before we vote. Kim, I know last year we were talking about expanding into Otsego more because that's kind of an underserved area, very young, a lot of youth. This pandemic kind of put that off for a little bit. I still want to reach out because even Commissioner Delighten's district, I hear from a lot of people, they finally realized that 4-H is more than just farm kids raising cows. And they're just, wow, that sounds really interesting. And I know the schools are interested in having us expand there. So hopefully next year we get back to somewhat of a normal year and we can start doing the expansion into that area that is so underserved.
For sure, and one of the things prior to all of this is we were planning on offering a few day camps up there because that's a really good introduction to youth into the 4-H program. A lot of times they go to a day camp and they realize what 4-H is about and they continue in the program long term. So we definitely have our eye on that part of the county to continue to do more there.
I know Commissioner Potter and Burrell are very aware that we need to talk about this across the county where we would pinpoint. And we had requested a position for that. And we got approved last year and this wasn't a year for us. So we'll come back to that discussion.
Appreciate that. All right, if there's no more discussion, roll call vote. Commissioner Burrell.
Aye.
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 Resolution passes 5-0. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for all you do for the kids
All right.
and the adults.
Mr. Bob Hevela.
Morning, Board. The first two items on the agenda really should be on the consent agenda. The county has issued bonds, and by the issuance of the bonds, we've committed ourselves to continuing disclosure requirements. And every time we borrow money, we have to make sure that we didn't make more money on it than we paid on the interest. So really, there's two contracts in front of you that should be on the consent agenda. The first one would be to approve arbitrage calculations and provisions and reporting. Ellers is our company that we have used in the past, so I'm recommending that we stay with Ellers and hire them to do the arbitrage calculations on our outstanding bonds.
Madam
Any
Chair?
questions for,
Go ahead, give a question.
For the public and for me, can you define arbitrage?
So arbitrage in the simplest form is that we borrow money from bondholders for the construction of our highway buildings, our admin buildings, stuff like that. Arbitrage is the point where I could borrow that money and invest it and not really slow down the construction and make money on it. So in this environment, there's no way we have arbitrage, but you can't borrow money to make money. You have to borrow the money and spend it in a certain requirements.
Madam Chair?
yes?
So really,
Yes.
it's kind of a simple game, as if you, for whatever reason, like if you were able to bond it for us at like a 2.9% rate, but you were able to yield a return of 3.75 and interest rate on that bond proceeds, that anything above the bonded amount would be considered negative arbitrage, and that would be basically subject to
Rebate.
rebate. Yep.
So again, just along that same line, if I make more money than I'm borrowed, that's subject to the rebate.
Okay.
So I can make as much money as I can up to what we borrowed the money at, so.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Batch.
One other question, is the base fee, the $1,000 per bond year, is that per bond, or just $1,000 for all of our bonds per year for the base fee?
Commissioners, I believe that is per bond, and that is pretty representative of the other bids that we would get.
To get, and I'm guessing that's similar to what last year's or the previous contract, because I think this is a multi-year contract, isn't it?
Right.
Yep.
Madam Chair, I'll make a
Yes.
motion to approve the county auditor treasurer's signature on the letter of engagement to retain Ellers as the arbitrage consultant.
I'll second
All right.
that.
Motion made by Commissioner Delight, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion is approved.
I'll make a motion to approve county auditor treasurer's signature on the letter of engagement to retain Ellers as a dissemination agent.
All right,
I'll second that.
motion made by Commissioner Delight, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Any discussion on that?
Madam Chair, because this made it to the regular agenda, I just want to add to that. So the continuing disclosure is we borrowed money from individuals out there through these bonding companies. This just lets them know that we are a valid, ongoing concern. There are no really big issues affecting our ability to repay these bonds. So this is really on behalf of the people who we actually borrowed the money from.
All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. And the August revenue expenditure budget and CIP report.
The board, there, outside of what we would typically expect, there's no big changes. We did budget for overtime regarding the ERP. We have incurred those expenses, so that burn rate is a little bit faster than other line items. But unless you have questions, I have Ryan here. Do you have any specific digging into the numbers?
Any questions for Ryan?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the August budget and CIP report.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Vetch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Potter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and that is approved. Okay. IT. We have 2 minutes before a public hearing.
This will be quick.
Welcome, Matthew.
Madam Chair, gentlemen, there's a resolution before you to support an effort by Midco to install fiber effectively between Lakes Ida and Silver Creek, or Silver Lake. This is a public-private partnership that's going on. They're requesting $1.2 million from the State Office of Broadband. This is actually going to support 740 homes within that area. It predominantly falls into Silver Creek Township. The boundaries are a little bit fuzzy at the moment. It might dip a little bit into the Maple Lake Township and as well as Monticello Township. But what this is our county, as everybody knows, is woefully underserved when it comes to broadband and internet connectivity. What they defined as underserved is anything under 25 megabyte up, 25 megabyte down, 3 megabytes up, which is pretty slow. So what they're hoping to do is install fiber. This is effectively the same fiber that I had access to in St. Michael's. It's phenomenal. For the top speed is going to be $99 a month with various plans below that. It's very cost effective. It's the same that you're going to get in the big city, and it'll help support the county. Now, this is a limited area, but it's what they're working on right now. What they're doing is they're looking for a resolution for us to support the effort. We would not be putting money in as a county, but we can support getting people this. Now, I fully recognize that this supports a very small percentage of the county, but this is fiber. Once you get it in the ground, it's a place from which to expand for everyone else. I've been talking to people around the county, especially in these particular times when school kids got to get online, they've got to stream video, things like this. This will help people in those areas. And
Yeah.
once we get it there, we have a point for departure by which to give it to more people.
Yeah, I appreciate that because, I mean, we have to start somewhere. I mean, we
Yes, ma'am.
have started other places, but certainly every effort we can make and to support these efforts is, I think, a positive thing.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to support Midco in applying for the 2020 State of Minnesota Border-to-Border Broadband Development Grant.
I'll second that.
I'll
Great.
second.
Motion made by Commissioner Fetch, seconded by Commissioner Burrell.
Madam Chair, I'm going to make just a couple of quick comments.
Yep.
I think this is great. I think their initial onset for the investment, with reaching over 700 plus homes, just on their initial plan, if awarded the grant, I think is great. The pricing that they're offering is competitive, which is outstanding. I hope to see a lot more of these types of ventures to come forward in the years to come, because there is a great number of people in these areas that don't have the services, especially from this hybrid and remote learning standpoint. I wish this was already in the ground, because there's hundreds and hundreds of kids in this mapped area that are using hotspots that even those aren't working because the cellular service in those areas are weak at best.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The 8 years that 4 of us have been on this board, I've been part of that border-to-border broadband task force, tied in with the transportation at EMC. And the legislature knew what the number was. They went the whole gambit, what the number is, but they woefully under-supported that for years. And only because of the pandemic now do they finally, maybe we should have done a little more than we did. I did attend a few of those border-to-border things with Margaret Anderson Kelleher in command, and it was one of those, the big carriers said, we're serving everybody fine, everybody just shook each other's hand and off they went. It really didn't accomplish anything, so I applaud this coming forward, because I think that's one of the pieces of the puzzle for Wright County. We get the fiber in the ground, it's going to help us with business expansion and quality of life and everything else. And in the past, a lot of places did not apply for these grants because there was such a limited amount that it wasn't worth the paperwork to go through to get to it. And so I applaud them for getting, and it's, like I say, it's about time we start getting in the game here.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Vetch.
Aye.
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 Resolution passes 5-0. Okay. Okay, moving on to our public hearing for changes to the 2021 fee-for-service schedule. We have 3 items, and I will open up the public hearing for this. The first one, Auditor Treasurer, add fee as follows: septic loan processing fee to $50. Under Parks and Recreation, add fee as follows: mobile food vending permit, county parks and recreation areas, $100. Planning and Zoning, add language as follows: Planning Commission rezoning or text amendment, $400. So those are the 3 items that we will add to our fee schedule, change it to our fee schedule. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to these changes? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to these changes? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to these changes? If not, I'll close the public hearing and take it to the County Board. Is there anyone that has any comments? Otherwise, I'd look for a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to approve the changes in the fee schedule for 2021.
All right.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Potter, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. Any more comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the fee schedule changes are approved. And Mr. Mark Mattice, our Parks and Recreation, right on time, 9:35.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of
Morning.
the board. On September 14th, we had our Park Commission meeting, and out of that came a series of recommendations for you to consider. Not sure if you want to take these one at a time, or
Sure. Yeah,
3 and then 4, however that goes.
yep, I think,
Okay.
go ahead and
One at a
take one
time.
at a time.
Right now, we use Max Galaxy for a reservation software for our campgrounds and shelters and our point of sale. That's operated off of Microsoft Silverlight. I'm not a technology guy, but there's one back there. That's going to be unsupported by Microsoft 2021. So we started looking at different software companies, and we come up after some research with a company called Perfect Mind out of Canada, of all places. And it's a $6,000 startup fee. I propose taking out, that the Park Commission proposes taking out of our campground dedicated account. And then that's $6,000 annual maintenance fee. Right now, we budget $5,800 for Max Galaxy, so
So
it's
it's
kind of
very
a
close.
wash. Plus, Perfect Mind will give us registration software for our programs, or registration portals. Is that the right word, Matt? Portal?
Yeah, sure.
He wasn't listening.
Never is.
I was, portal is the correct word.
A registration portal, where with Max, if we have their at registration portal, it's an extra $12.50 a year, so we're actually doing pretty good on that. So we have went to the admin technology committee. We had too many comments with that. We've started the process with IT. It is a cloud-based system. Tomorrow, we're at the Wright County Technology Committee. A lot of committees.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so anyhow, our Park Commission's recommending moving forward with that. We want to kick off live date of January 1st, so we're kind of, there's a lot of stuff we have to do to get that moving in the right direction to get her up by January 1st. So that's that one.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Mattice, your campground dedicated account's got to be getting somewhat low because we used it for some other stuff earlier this year, if I remember correctly. Just curious, where are you sitting at on there? Wasn't there some of the funds?
I can't give you an exact number because I didn't look that up,
Yeah.
but we are fine.
You're fine, all right.
Yeah.
all right.
Madam
We'll
Chair-
go ahead and ask for a
Madam
motion
Chair,
for this.
I'll make a
Yep.
motion to approve the $6,000 from the campground dedicated account as the funding source for replacing the existing reservation software of Max Galaxy.
And I'll second it,
Motion made by Commissioner Betch, seconded by Commissioner Delyden.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Delyden.
And if you guys remember, I mentioned it a little bit last week about what this system is going to allow our residents to be able to look at a wider window on what, if there's a one date that is booked, but the rest of it will show them a 2-week window, so that it's going to be a lot nicer for the residents, I
It'd be
think.
a lot nicer. It'll show availability of sites. So if you come into one of our parks and you want a 4-night stay, right now ours would say, no, we're booked, and we're all booked. It'll show them like, you can be in this site for 2 nights and this other site for 2 nights. You'd have that opportunity to do that. It's also mobile friendly, so I guess you can use it off one of them phones. Not my landline, but one of them cellular.
Yeah, that sounds like a definite upgrade that we
It
are
is an upgrade.
going to.
And Madam Chair, if I could ask Commissioner Vetch maybe to add to his motion that it would be contingent on approval from the committee tomorrow.
That's fair.
I don't want to bypass the committee.
Sure.
Right, I mean, we can give our approval and they'll still have, right?
Yeah,
but-
it,
Yeah,
I get from the minute standpoint, I mean, not that,
Yep.
You can do whatever you want, I'm just
I,
trying to.
you know, so I can vote for it today and vote against it tomorrow?
Yeah.
I just,
Mr. Flip Flopper.
Yeah,
then, then when the minutes come forward at the, next board meeting, then I'll vote for it again, so.
That was the second license agreement tomorrow with Glass.
yeah. So, yeah,
You're gonna confuse IT.
yeah. I think that we give our recommendation and they can take it from there. Mhm.
Matt's back there hitting Control Alt Delete to
Yeah.
reset himself.
Well, you think this is going forward until, you know, Mr. Fomby comes out tomorrow and tells us that, no, we just don't have the capacity, or it's not gonna play well in the sandbox, and.
Yeah.
But it's cloud-based.
Yeah, you said the key word, cloud-based. Cloud-based. Everything we use cloud-based, take that key out of it.
All right. Is there any other comments? Otherwise, we will, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? All right. Motion passes 5-0. Number 2.
The second one is a recommendation related to our seasonal campsite management. We talked about Bertram Park coming online next year. Right now, we have 6 seasonal sites at Schroeder, 8 seasonal sites at Collinwood. We never had a non-resident fee, and what the recommendation is not to have seasonal sites at Bertram. We'll see how that goes the first year or two. To take the seasonal sites at Schroeder, those 6, and start through attrition, removing seasonal sites from that park, because of the popularity. And then at Collinwood, we'd go to attrition from 8 down to 6, and then in the new expansion area, only have a maximum of 4 seasonal sites up there out of the 6. And then to add a non-resident fee to those seasonal sites. So right now we're at $2,000 for a seasonal site. A non-resident fee would put it at $23,000. And then if you're in a full-service site at Collinwood, it'd go from $2,000 to $2,300, and a non-resident would go up to $26,000 for that additional sewer capacity.
That's a.
Was that a long recommendation or what?
Yes, I mean, and that's, I mean, a very reasonable, what you would kind of call somebody's cabin, you know? I mean, if you're looking at a place to have access to for the entire season, that's very reasonable, so. And I appreciate also the attrition of kind of getting some of these more popular campsites open for the public, because we're all essentially supporting these as county residents, and so I appreciate that you're looking at that. All right,
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation to the seasonal campsite
all right,
fees.
I'll second that.
all right. Motion made by Commissioner Deline, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item number 3, we had a lengthy discussion, and in your packet, you should have an aerial photo of boundary line, and then you should have our county biological survey in there. Been approached by a willing seller next to Harry Larson Park on 40 acres. He owns 80, about 80, and the back 40 is what he's looking at. It's the 40 that's on the biological survey. We went through our decision-making processes. I believe we hit 9 of our 10 decision-making processes with that parcel. This recommendation is not to buy, it is to hire an appraiser to do a fair market value assessment on the parcel, and then we'd bring that back. And if that, then we'll talk about, do we want to apply for a grant, do we want to pursue it or not, depending on the cost. I recommend that we take the appraisal value out of our park dedication fund for Silver Creek Township. That balance is about $36,000.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Leiden.
Mark, for the public, can you just explain a little bit about what did you call it regarding the,
Biological survey?
yeah, can you explain to people what that means?
Biological survey was a survey completed by the Minnesota DNR a number of years ago that we we got involved with, and it takes pre-settlement vegetation, pre-settlement of white, obviously, into account. And in Wright County, there's less than 2% of that land still remaining. So this is a red oak basswood forest with some sedge meadows in it. So it's biologically for the county, it's very significant as a resource, as a natural resource. And that was one of our things when we're looking at, we're not looking at really establishing new parks right now, you know, unless something really important came up in the southeast corner. But when we look at expanding parks, it's to look at that biological survey, at that use that could obtain. Harry Larson County Forest is in Silver Creek Township. Probably our second most popular cross-country skiing area. So being able to maybe expand the trail system out into that 40 would be nice. Protection of that resource. What we've talked to the landowner about is transferring the building entitlement off of that 40 up to his other property, so that we wouldn't lose that as a tax capacity for the county. Did I do that all right for you, Mr.?
Thank you. I'll make a motion to proceed with an appraisal for the 40 acres next to Harry Larson County Forest.
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
By Commissioner Batch. Any more discussion on this?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
wouldn't
Commissioner
we
Ralph.
be better off keeping the building entitlement and selling it to somebody and, you know, because that building entitlement is worth whatever, $80,000-$90,000, you know. So that should, in effect, then lower the value of the property when it's appraised.
Should.
Plus, it's, doesn't look like it's very productive land anyways.
I'm productive to some, not to others. I'm not on the planning commission, so I don't know if we can actually sell our
So-
building entitlements to somebody else.
You have to transfer land with it.
Transfer 'em?
You have to transfer land, don't
No,
you?
you can sell the entitlement to one that's adjoining, to an adjoining property. You could sell it back to
But to
them.
an adjoining property, but
Yeah.
that's where the caveat is, there may not be a buyer within that.
Well, now I mean, when you added this 40 to it, you connected all this property, so it'd be a pretty large area.
I guess in theory then anything surrounding the park then at that point would be an adjoining property.
It's just, my point is, I guess it lowers the value of the property a lot by not having a building entitlement, and that should be reflected in the
That would be
appraisal.
reflected in.
But it won't be.
Right.
Because we're the county and we'll pay through the nose, that's.
Well, I guess that's what I'd be interested to see what the
I
appraisal
understand.
comes back, because
Yep.
they're, by them transferring that building entitlement out, that other property's gonna have an extraordinary better value, so.
Yeah, I mean, definitely things to explore on that, you know, just exactly.
I've never understood that we could sell building entitlements off of our property, but I can check with planning and zoning on that. And then also in the appraisal process, I'll have the appraiser actually give a value to that entitlement,
So then with that,
Yep.
so that you
Yep.
can see what's coming off.
so
Yep.
Madam Chair, with that question, then how many building entitlements are you sitting on, Mr. Matthijs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we look
We
at
have
all
a
the
new
parks?
funding mechanism. Actually, it's not a new funding mechanism. It's one that's always been in the back of my head, and you know that.
Yeah, we may be holding a lot of building entitlements in this county, huh?
Just think about Bertram.
Yeah,
There are none.
well, I mean, and we've got a lot of just sort of little parks, sort of undeveloped parks around in our county also, areas that,
And you want to sell them off before they become part of a city, because then they're worthless.
all right, yes,
You don't need them.
And they are worthless, yeah.
All right,
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for the, we've had this talk through the tenure we've been here. At what point do we stop buying more land for parks in here and taking out tax roll and what have you? I for one, we've got a lot of going on in the parks right now, a lot of things going on, a lot of money being spent in there. And I'm just gonna be voting against this. I don't wanna lead them down the road that, yes, we're looking to do this, as I'm not in favor of purchasing any more land for parks at this time. That's just my point.
Yeah. And basically, this is not for purchasing, it's to get an appraisal.
Yeah, but we know where that goes.
Yeah, it could, yeah,
we've seen that, we've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
starts
yeah.
here and ends up being on a consent item somewhere later.
Never end up on a consent item, Mr. Potter, it always comes into discussion.
And actually, I mean, this has come up before, since we've been on the board with the Harry Larson Park, so.
Madam Chair, I'm gonna actually go along with Commissioner Potter on this. I think there's people, we're gonna still gain parkland by people making donations, and, I think we'll just leave it at that. I don't think the county needs to be spending any more taxpayer dollars either.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Vetch to
Madam
proceed with
Chair?
an appraisal. Yes.
So, you know, and I admire the perspective of Commissioner Potter and Commissioner Burrell, and in a lot of respects, I agree. We do have an enormous amount of parkland in Wright County, and there isn't necessarily a large demand to acquire vast amounts of additional land. The reason for this one, where I support possibly at least looking into it, is because of the uniqueness and the criteria that the Parks Commission has in place for even bringing this forward to this point. Because there's not that many ecological properties within the county that meet all these boxes and really meet the long-term goals within the Parks Commission. So at least this point, it's worth taking a look at. Could it be acquired for a reasonable price? If it could be acquired for a very reasonable price, and if it could find some grant funding, it would be worth the conversation, because there is some of these unique features within the county and the state that we do need to make sure that they're around for generations, so.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I appreciate about this too. We don't know what we're gonna be looking at going forward, but the fact that there's so little left of this original, well, and how original, I mean, since the glaciers went through, I don't know, but anyway. But perhaps we would sit down at some point, because we have had properties donated, and what are some of the, you know, I don't know, parameters or restrictions or whatever on some of these park areas that have been donated by people, but they're not specifically developed and they're sitting there. And so I think, you know, and I'm sure that you've given that a lot of thought, you know, Mark, and I would be interested in sort of looking at these families that donated this property. Is there a time restriction on this, or do they have, you know, have they said you need to do this with it, or, you know, it's up to you if at some point you want to sell it or whatever. So people are generous and they donate, but if you're right, we only need kind of so many parks, or if it doesn't fit, you know, in our county developing these areas, they're sort of just sitting there, but we need to maintain them.
And Madam Chair, I've been fairly honest with you, there are some of those areas that don't fit
Right,
a county/regional system.
exactly, so,
And is it, if you know, some are perpetuity, some are very strict, some are, do you hang on to them until, as Charlie says, they become part of a city, and then you work with the city to take those properties over that aren't really fit in our system. I think a good example of that is the Clearwater Wayside. We didn't give up full control to the city, but we got in a partnership, and it's been working really good. Helps them with their need for parkland, took a lot of expense off our books.
Madam Chair?
yeah. Commissioner Delyden?
The Parks Commission does do we look at all these different properties, and there's a lot of them that have never come before this board
Right.
because the park
Yeah.
said no. But, you know, even to try and get somebody to donate, we still need an appraisal, you know, and then after that point, then we can negotiate. We'll pay you half and you can donate half, or, you know, whatever, but you still need that appraisal to go forward. And I would never vote on this unless there was some grant money involved in it. I'm not,
Yep.
and that would be the only way. And I don't think the parks would ever bring it forward without some grant money attached to it. So,
All right. Well, is there any more discussion? Otherwise, we will call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right. So we have carries 3-2. Thank you, Mark.
And that appraisal will come back to you guys for review, for sure, before moving to the next step, if there is a next step.
Yep.
The other one is authorizing Park and Rec staff to develop and submit grants. I think in the minutes, it looks like 4 projects, but in here, I only did 3, because the 4th project would be applying for the grant for that acquisition. I don't think we're ready to move forward with that process until we get an appraisal back. So in our CIP plan, there is money dedicated to Robert Nye Regional Park for ski trail lighting along the pond loop, increase opportunities for people after work in the evenings and stuff like that. That would be a legacy grant. Then Collinwood Regional Park, a native prairie restoration where we have a bunch of cool season grasses. We'd look at doing a conservation partnership grant there. And then the Crow River Regional Trail Phase 2, which is ID'd in our CIP, but that would be a transportation enhancement program. So that's 5 years old. This would be our initial application.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize Park and Recreation staff to develop and submit for grants for Robert Nye Regional Park, Collinwood Regional Park, and Crow River Regional Park.
I'll second
Regional
that.
Trail.
Or Regional Trail, I'm sorry.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Vetch, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any discussion on this? There's a commissioner that stepped out for a moment. Shall we wait or go ahead and vote?
Where's the elevator music?
Go ahead and vote.
We can probably.
Yeah, you can vote, I don't think, I mean, it's not,
The
Not
support is there.
controversial.
yeah,
Yeah. All right.
we're just applying
So-
for a grant, it's
Right.
not.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Mark, for
Thank you very much.
everything. And
Have a great day.
yeah, you too. Moving on. We have no items for consideration, so we have advisory committee, advisory board updates. Commissioner Burrell?
You always start with me and I'm never ready.
Okay, I can start with
Okay, come back. I don't think I have anything
Okay.
anyway. Then.
Commissioner Vetch. Is there anything that you'd like to?
Let's see
Here.
here, you know, I just say it was great to get a lot of the, mayors in Wright County to go through the, training facility
Oh,
out
yeah.
there. Fantastic job in how it was put together and the amazing technology that was put into that building. I think it's gonna serve Wright County well for a long time to come. Other than that, I have nothing else for last week, so.
All right.
Madam Chair, I did not have anything.
You don't have anything? Okay. All right. Well, I was on the radio last week, so got that done for 5 months. That's all. So it went fine. And I don't know, maybe, well, actually, you guys had Trailblazer, and then we had
Oh, yes.
the groundbreaking on that on last Thursday. So I don't know if you want to make any comments on that, Commissioner Vetch or Potter. And I was also involved in the interview process, looking for the executive director for Safe Communities of Wright County. And we are going to bring someone in on Thursday to meet the board for approval, hopefully on that. So that person will be in place. AMC, I was at the public safety remote meeting on Friday. And essentially, we needed to choose the 3 priorities that would be going forward. And number 1 priority is EMS, stable funding for our EMS, because we have so many service providers out in our more rural areas, and they definitely need they definitely need money. I mean, you can't just try to rely on seatbelt dollars coming in because the number keeps declining. So we need to support our EMS services and also corrections to have more stable funding too for between the county and the state. So the state should really be providing 50% for that. And what was the third thing? The 911 and working on also the reliable funding source for the enhanced 911. A lot of discussion about mental health and how we as public safety should put something on the platform, but there are so many different entities that are working on that we kind of felt that the other three priorities were, or the other three things were priorities. That's a lot of other, I mean, certainly public health and are looking at what to do with beds for our mental health clients, but that's about it. Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, Library Board met last week, fairly uneventful one because the budgets have been set now. Is a part about the summer reading program. Wright County's libraries did real well as far as percentage of the whole whole system there. We always hope that they'd always get a little bit better, but you know some of the numbers are doing well considering the times we're in here. The next one is the Trailblazer meeting. I just said as an alternate. They also had Kevin Castle's last meeting, and I hear from Gary's officially resigned because he's moving out of state. He was a fantastic addition to that board to help get us through the turbulent start there. And they had Lee get a certificate of appreciation for Mr. Castle, and I would like to present that at the St. Michael Council meeting tonight if possible. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Again, it's the next item up with that is the solicitation to move into Cambridge and Isanti, or say Isanti and Chisago County. And it's, I've had many talks with Commissioner Morris, Julia Lyons, and then Chase, the administrators for Isanti and Chisago County. It's one of those rush to judgment before you get all the facts. The commissioners up there, I don't believe they know. They're so distanced from what was going on in the transit up there. I don't think they really understand what's going on here. And they wanted a solicitation, and the board basically said no to solicitation, but yet Michael Johnson from there said, you threw Grotus that yes, you are putting a solicitation in. And so the email this morning was, they just said no, but you had, and Johnson's going, you had time to comment on this. So the only thing we can do is the board had said no. I mean, we're worried about the MnDOT's laying in the weeds for us to punish us later. The problem is, and I asked the administrators from both counties up there, just even a 2-week delay to give a little bit more information because you know what you're getting into, because they don't seem like willing participants. And it's because we invite them to a workshop, and Bill Pinsky, Commissioner Pinsky, invited, set up the meeting, everything in the last minute they canceled because somebody at MnDOT said, no, you can't go there, no solicitation. And all it was a meet and greet. And I think Commissioner Kruger said it best. He says, you're not going to marry somebody without having a dance with them first. You want to do the meet and greet, and I think that makes sense. It made all sense in the world. Why are you comfortable with this situation or not? They also don't understand the difference between ours, which is a government type, and a cap agency. They don't understand that difference. And it's tough when they push it so hard, so fast without anybody knowing what's going on. I mean, we all know how the River Rider Trailblazers started out. I mean, it was just, oh, wow, do you really want to go through that again? There's so many issues up there in those counties. Chisago was so distant from it. Santee County ran, Chisago just wrote them a check for $115,000 a year for whatever happened, and they still couldn't go into a couple towns because it was Met Council influence there. So they had the same problem we had with Rogers, dealing with that one. So it's to me it's kind of a mess, and the only thing we can do is personal opinion here is how our legislators know what the situation is here. We want to be good stewards and we want to do this fair, but you can't do this in a rush because there's no way that service is going to be provided, and there's no way, and Bill, Commissioner Pinsky put it right, no way people down here are going to be happy with us taking them on and have them nights and weekend service, and we don't have it here. Yeah, that's not going to pan out very well. So more to come on that, and hopefully, the administrators I talked to actually gave me a lot of time, and we chatted about everything, and just trying to get them to be mindful of what they're getting into, because unrealistic expectations, it means it's destined for failure, and I don't want that.
No.
They've
It takes a
got-
long time to
They
get
got a mess up
everything in
there,
order.
and just this, it's gonna be a lot of heavy lifting, because we're not exactly a lot of fat in this organization to start with. In Trailblazer, it's pretty lean, and to take on all that extra work is gonna be a heavy lift for a lot of people. And it just, like I say, it's sad that they're trying to put the hammer down on this thing without, they don't want to have service interrupted. Now they say, oh, people are resigning from Heartland. And you knew that was going to happen anyway. When the ship is sinking, they usually jump off the ship there.
Commissioner Potter, I appreciate you bringing up the Trailblazer piece, because I totally forgot about that. And one day, also, I think we should comment that we are, for the first time in quite a while, we are I'm going to say virtually fully staffed in Buffalo with all of our Trailblazer. We have a couple part-time positions, but those are always ongoing because they're always taking on part-time positions because they tend to be a little bit more fluid. But from a full-time perspective, they are fully staffed, so that is excellent.
It took a while to get to that
Took a
point.
while to get there.
And it's just starting to hit on all cylinders right now. So this, the board had authorized Gary to go a listening session for this solicitation. And if we had known then, I'm sure that the board had known then that it was going to be, by going to the listening session, you committed yourself to doing something, they'd have said no.
Well, the solicitation was, I think, what did Gary say, it would take roughly 80 to 90 hours to put together the solicitation, because it was such an intense amount of information that they wanted you to put together for the solicitation.
Wow.
And to do that when you don't even know you want to
Right.
whether you want to buy in, because you don't know what you're buying, so it's a little bit scary.
Well, and to find that 80 or 90 hours, where?
That's exactly it, because we just don't have, at Trailblazer, there just isn't a whole lot of upper management to be able to do that, so.
No, they're really lean at the top.
And they're not going to be able to rely on the current staff at Heartland to do anything, because I think most of them are going to be gone anyway, especially on the executive director on the high end of the scale. They're all leaving.
Yeah.
It's just it's very complicated, and I hate that when they do the strong arm tactic, because the only remedy that we have is go legislative with them, say, hey, what's going on here? Why are you doing this? Why? You saw how it happened before, and Mr. Godfrey got 2 black eyes, one state level, one federal level, for how he handled River Rider Trailblazer. You really want to see that again? And the fact that it's I understand their 10-year-ago edict that they want to have one transit system for all the collar counties on the west and north, and that's great. Nice vision and all that, but how do you get there when you have something of, the facilities, especially in Isanti County, are very substandard. So it's kind of a tough, where's all this investment going to come? But more to come on that thing, but that'll be interesting how that turns out. The next was the I-94 Coalition. We basically had a little bit of debriefing. We applied for that spring build grant. We didn't get one last fall. We applied again this spring. Thank goodness 2 projects in Minnesota got funding, Highway 14 and then the Highway 10 bridge over the Rum River in Anoka, which is, they say it's Ramsey County, but it seems to me it's in Anoka County, but that's,
Yeah,
it
should
was
be.
goofy writing there. Maybe no fact checking on the reporting. It's good to have those there, but the debriefing of how we can make a better application for the next one. And that it was the part of the lobbying from, and I'm just gonna, on my perspective, from not only Margaret Anderson Kelleher, but the governor, was more fixated on Highway 14 than anything else in there, which is good. It's a nice project, but again, look at the positive. Thank goodness Minnesota got some projects, some federal money. Now, those two projects are off the list, and that means everybody else should be moving up a notch. So we got to accentuate on the positive of that one. And then we had the Economic Development Partnership on Friday morning, and it was, again, not really eventful. They just talked about the CARES Act, and they had 50-some businesses apply for that.
We're now up to 78 as
Oh,
of
yeah,
Monday
78,
and
which is-
7 nonprofits.
And I told a few businesses that said they
78 with
didn't apply, you
nonprofits?
better hurry up
7
because they'll run out of
nonprofits.
money.
7.
So it's kind of nice, but and again, they're really thankful that Wright County stepped up and is going to provide a office space for them, because the tech school, when things get back to kind of normal, if there's such a thing, they'll probably be having to look for a new space again. So they're happy about that, and nothing real earth-shattering other than that, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Leiden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had to step out, but did anybody mention about that the AMC annual meeting will be virtual this year? If you had heard that or not?
Oh, in December?
December. So we won't be meeting in either St. Cloud or Minneapolis.
Will the
It will
cost be down?
It will be all virtual this year, which will be kind of unique. I had met with the HHS Policy Committee on Thursday, and then it continued into Friday again, but I had prior commitments, so I wasn't able to do that. But the things that we came up with for what it's worth is that we want the legislators to dial us in on the budgets for Health and Human Services regarding our priorities of choices, mental health and substance abuse disorder funding, and the local public health grants. Because those three things are all critical to every county. And we think we should be a little bit more at the table on those sort of things. So, which brings me up to the point, I know we've talked about having a meeting with our legislators and local senators and stuff. I don't think we've set any dates yet or anything, but I think we really need to get that done so that we can get on their list. So hopefully they'll come and talk with us so that we can let them know how some of these things really impact us. The other thing that we're going to try and really push hard is that during this COVID stuff, there have been a lot of waivers that have been allowed for the counties to deal with, which has streamlined a lot of efficiencies. And so we're hoping for them to continue to allow us to do those things. So, and I'm sure that Jamie can talk higher about that in the future if you have questions on it. But it's improved the things that we're able to do, and a lot more efficient. So hopefully the future they'll continue allowing us to be efficient, which, Mike, is always a thought. So again, that goes back to with the Health and Human Services, us being involved in the budget because it has such a huge impact on the county.
Oh, yeah.
A question I kept asking, but nobody could give me the answer, is who does Health and Human Services partner with more than any other? I mean, Health and Human Services, or DHS, or whatever you want to call them down at the state level, is a huge, huge organization, which, they've talked about breaking them up because they're doing inspections for food and, all those sort of things. But they make these policies, and then it's the counties that have to deal with implementing them.
Right.
So who should be at the table when they're kind of developing these things?
What's frustrating is that when they, well, if you're just talking about the human services part of it, not the health part of
Yeah.
it, but when they just decide that, you know, you have 20 new rules, the legislator, that doesn't go through the legislator, that just, you know, determined at their department, and that is not right, just all of a sudden, you know, here's your new rules, you need to follow these, and, you know, our county people are just scrambling, trying to implement these, and really, they haven't even gone through the, you know, the state, so
Not only that,
that's
but
not right.
You know, the legislators make the laws,
Yeah,
fund it, and then they don't increase the budget for health and or for human services. So human services take it upon themselves to defund certain parts to the
yeah,
county.
it's
I
just
mean, and the
not,
legislators don't know about
No.
that. So again, it's really critical we get this in front of the legislators. And again, this is just one, see the whole picture. There's a lot of other things that, you know, we have to deal with that the state makes laws. And I know it would sure be nice if we had, that system you've been working on, Commissioner Vetch.
Oh, the
regarding-
indexing, the mandates, yes.
Yeah.
If we get that done,
Yeah.
that'll help a lot for us to be able to talk about the history of where the cost shifts have been. I mean, I wish they had to engage counties when they create programs or modify programs, because anytime they change something, whether you keep the cost the same, there could be an inadvertent burden on the counties, which creates a cost shift.
right.
And again, you know, one of them is just the efficiency of the waivers, allowing us to continue those.
Yep.
And that has, you know, listening to a lot of the other people that were on this meeting, it has saved dramatically a lot of counties' money
Good.
by these waivers, so hopefully we'll see. Anyway, that's enough
All right.
for me.
Anything updates, Administrator Kelly?
Just did want to mention, if you did hear, as of late yesterday, there were 76 applications for the business grant program through Wright County Economic Development, and 7 applications for the nonprofit. So again, those application period is open till the 8th of October. So getting the word out, they were going to review them, and we'll have to maybe have a discussion about allocating funds or additional funds due to the interest that's come forward. So more to come on that.
All right, well, thank you. If there is nothing else to come before the board, we are adjourned at 10:17. Thanks, everybody.